Sorry? Okay, we'll tell. Sir, what are they projecting?
No, I just need to, it would be nice if I could project.
Oh, okay. So is there a particular file you are projecting so they can spotlight it from there? Could you bring the laptop? Okay. Yeah, we're about to have an interesting time. I know that we have a good number of aspiring writers, who basically stumble and fumble every now and then. And then because of our concern for quality and for excellence and for meticulosity, because for you to be a good writer, an international writer, you do need a great level of finesse and precision, right? So that is where the place for mentorship comes in. Yeah. So the Cora Directorate, the management staff of the Lagos Book Festival, thought it wise to create a platform where aspiring writers will be exposed to international standard of creative writing. I thought we were going to, applaud that. Yeah. So that is what we're about to kick off right about now. And the person we have in our midst who is going to prosecute this phase of the festival, I kid you not, is a man of international reputation. I'm going to be doing the introduction, And what do I mean by international reputation? For you to be tagged or dubbed international, you need to have been able to fraternize with people from different backgrounds, and I believe that is the best form of education. And I think that's where I have problem with our educational system in Nigeria, where a lecturer sits on the desk for 50 years, no traveling, no interactions with the rest of the world, perpetually they keep repeating the same thing. In fact, it gets to an extent that they have this mastery. They cram everything. They just they are just saying, you are clapping, oh, this man is too much. But that intercourse, with people from other backgrounds, people who have different perspective, it's not there. That internationality is not there. And that is what we are bringing here today. And I want you to know that you are very, very, very lucky to be here. Yeah, today is your lucky day. Kunle, if you are ready, let me know. So, if ever you have the aspiration to become a writer, not just one of those writers, I mean a writer with a distinction, beginning from today, you are going to fall under the mentorship, able, competent, efficient mentorship of someone who has got that reputation, someone who has got that pedigree to lead you and to guide you, because we all need guidance, we all need mentorship. And, in our usual parlance, they say, follow who know road. Follow who know what? Road. Yeah. If someone who claims, or someone you think you are leading, if you follow the blind, I mean, both of you end up in a ditch or in a Lagos Lagoon, fall off 10 Milan Bridge. But if you are following someone who is familiar with the roads, someone who knows the details, who knows the nuances, right? Who knows the tricks. Yeah, because life has a lot of tricks. Creative writing is quite tricky. Quite tricky. So you need to know the different size. I mean, the details, the tricks, and how to manipulate and one go your way through. Yes. And that's why we're here today. And please, if you have questions, I want us to be able to make this interactive. If you have questions, do not deter. Do not hesitate to ask your question. Ask your question so that from your questions, a lot of people, not just you, will learn, right? And then we're able to explore the areas that will be of benefit to every one of us. So stay tuned. Get your pen and paper ready, because I assume that you should have your pen and paper so you can document whatever is going to be transpiring here today. Get your pen and paper. get ready for this wonderful, beautiful time. And a few days ago, I was scrolling through the walls of my Facebook, and I came across a picture, of one of my contemporaries. He writes, and that picture actually got a lot of engagement. He was talking about, Kunle, please let me know if we are ready. Kunle, is Kunle here? Let me know. Okay, yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. I just wanted to. Oh, okay. Good. Okay, yeah. So, back to my story. This particular picture got a lot of engagement. People were talking about it. People from the north, people from the east, people from the southwest, people from the Niger Delta region, Like, yeah, this picture is from 12 years ago. And they were talking about Chimamada's mentorship program, Farafina, something. I can't remember the exact name. But the people who were at that workshop at the time, today have become, something, a lot of improvement, They have grown to become writers, in their own rights. Some are even working with the present presidency and all that. But because of that level of experience, they have been able to get somewhere, to get somewhere respectable today. So I believe that's similar path we are towing here today. Without further ado, I'm going to welcome this distinguished gentleman of international repute, like I said earlier. And you have been seeing him, but I think he needs proper introduction. I don't know if I'm the best person to do this introduction, but ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome Mr. Dele Sikwande. All right, sir, yeah. I'm not going to talk too much. Please, it's your seat. It's your seat. We want you to be very, very free with these people. They need all the push. They need all the kicks, smacks, anything that is capable of catapulting them to the zenith of their career. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you. Lovely to see all of you here. I'm always very nervous when I'm introduced with any kind of acclaim or renown. Because I think of myself just as Dele. I have no particular airs and graces, and you should feel free to ask anything you like. So, creative writing is what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to focus on the creative element of it, right? The purely creative. And I don't know if I can project any of the things. Can we just move along? When I started writing, I wanted to know how to do it. What is the technique? What are the rules? Okay, and so I went on a writing course. I worked with a writing group. I worked with a big publisher, and they read my stuff, and they started to talk to me. And they started to talk to me in some kind of very big grammar, some big Oyibo structures, to say, oh yeah, what you really need is you need to write a book in the 5-act structure. Then you need to write a book in the 3-act structure. Then you need to have exposition. I'm just an ordinary boy from Yaba. I don't understand exposition. What do you mean? What do you mean a 5-act structure? I know stories about Ijapa. Can I know from what I am doing how I go from there to writing full-scale novels? And so I learned 2 things. The first thing that I learned is that there are rules. It's really nice to know that there are rules. But the second thing I learned, and the only thing I can tell you today, is that I follow a particular type of writing that is called discovery writing, which is used by, amongst others, Stephen King, And he wrote a great book, Stephen King, on writing. So he doesn't just write horror books. He actually wrote a book about writing. And I write like that. So what we're going to talk about today and what we're going to do is what I do. I don't know how to teach you all that rule-based 3-act, 5-act, blah, blah, blah. Because it doesn't work for me. I am a discovery writer. So can we move the slides along? A couple of next, if only if the, please stop. Okay, so when I started, this is what I was told I had to do. Hello? You don't go well past now. Okay, I think we are at 3. Yeah, stop. Okay, so this is real. This is real. If you go and you do a writing course, right? If you can move over, it will help actually to see these things. If you go and do a writing course, this is what they tell you have to do. This is the 5-act structure. You've got to do exposition, then plotting the action, then the first thing, then. Okay. I want you to understand that you cannot write a 90,000-word novel, which is the length of Orisha, unless you followed those rules. But if you start by thinking, this is how I start, heaven help you. I don't understand this. I don't understand that. I just know that it's there. And then when I have finished writing, I will go and ask the question. Do you see that they all have this piece at the top? They all have this spike. Yeah? Do you know what that spike is? Can anyone guess? Sorry? Climax? Not quite, because it's in the middle. I'll tell you, the way that I understand that spike is that at this point, my character cannot just go, I'm going home. You start to read a story, and it's a lot of tension, and things are going on, and you never ask yourself, why don't they just go home? Why don't you just give up and go home? Can anyone tell me how, for example, I can do something so that you can't go back? Just something really simple. I'll tell you, don't worry, don't panic. I'll pick on you later, okay? I'll pick on anybody later. I'm very cruel that way. But you know what I do? If I want to make sure you can't go back, I'll just kill somebody. Yeah, I'll kill them. You can't go back. You're not going to bring them back to life. This person who you thought was going to save you is now dead. So the story must move forward. This happens in every famous book that you have ever read. It happens in every famous film that you have ever seen. I don't know if you watch The Lord of the Rings, but in The Lord of the Rings, there comes a point where they go through and the bridge collapses, no way home. You now go to the end. In my book, I might kill somebody. In Orisha, the child is kidnapped. The book must move forward from there. You can't unkidnap a child, right? So, when I think about these things, I don't think about them this way. This is all just incredibly tedious. But I know that in my story, around about the middle, the reader is going to close the book. So how do I make you open it? I make sure you know that we're going forwards from here. You can't go back. I've read books. You know, people come and say, they read my book. I pick up the book. I start to read the book. I just, why don't you just give up and go home? You've not told me why this person won't just give up and go home. I would go home. The thing I hate about bad ghost stories is I always ask myself, oh, you're in a haunted house? I bet go and see an estate agent and move. You must have a way to tie you to this house. Has anybody seen Poltergeist? Poltergeist? What happens? They take the person's child. So you can't leave the house. Your child is held in the house. Otherwise, you would just go and see an estate agent and say, I don't want to live here anymore. That's how I understand this point in my story. So when you're writing, you think this way. Sir, can we move forward one? Okay, so I only have 2 rules. The first is that you should know the rules. Actually, the rules for anybody who wants to write a novel, just search online 5-act structure. Those are the rules. Then try to translate the yada yada into simple, ordinary English. When they say exposition, they just mean how you start. Just the framing of the story, okay? And we will look at some framing of a story. There's nothing to it. And this is true of so many things. I was explaining to someone the power of jargon. These builders, they came into my house, and they looked at the window and said, yeah, we're going to have to put an RSJ in there. An RSJ. Does anybody know what an RSJ is? It's a metal stick. That's it. If they told me, oh, yeah, we get a metal pole and then we put it across, everybody would understand. So exposition, midpoint, you just need to translate them all into what you know. But you have to know the rules, or your book will not be good. Shoinka, Chinua Achebe, Chimamanda, none of them has written a book that if I read it, I cannot find all of the rules of a 5-act structure. And that's why the book is good. What you have to do as a writer is you have to imagine that you are selling blouses in the market. So, I'm selling blouses, and I put them. Somebody comes, they pick up the blouse. It's easy to make somebody pick up the blouse. Just go to the market. They'll pick the blouse up. If they put it back and go and look at another one, you won't sell that blouse. You need to remember that the reason for the rules is very simple. The rules exist because over time, we have discovered how to make somebody try the blouse on. Wear it. Look at yourself in the mirror, okay? How do you think we do that, sir?
So,
how do you think we make you try the blouse on? We make you create the character. You think that the character that you are reading about is my character. That is not true. And that is why, if you have read a book and you go to the cinema and you see the film, you will often go, that's not how I imagined that person to be. Abby? Yes. Who put the person in your head? You did. That's my trick. And I'm going to tell you how we do the trick. So please, sorry. Of course you can, please. Especially as you're wearing an Arsenal shirt. This man supports a great football team. Say no more.
yeah, well, this applies to non-fiction also. Because, for example, non-fiction that talks about history, about Africans, British, and that. I'm talking about the 5 structures.
No.
Oh.
No. This is creative writing only.
Writing only.
Yes. Right. You're not allowed to do what I say in fiction, in actual fact-based writing. If a fact-based writer tried to do what I'm about to tell you to do, he will just be sued for telling lies. So can we move on, please? So what we're going to do, right, all of us, right, is we're just going to create the plot of a story, okay? And it doesn't matter. It's just our story. We're just messing around. Unless one of you wants to go home and write it, okay? We're actually just going to do it. So please, can we have the next slide? Okay, so once upon a time, there was a... Is it a boy, a girl, or an intelligent cat?
A boy.
Once upon a time, there was a boy. And the boy was named... What's the boy's name?
Dayo.
Dayo. Okay, so rule number one in the creation of characters, yes, is that you can use any name, but you should try not to use a common name. So, for example, I do a trick. If I have a character and his name is Abayomi, I will make sure that somebody has given him a nickname. In the case of Abayomi, he has a friend called Joker, and Joker calls him Cosimo because he once used the word cosmopolitan. Okay? What have I done? What have I done? Remember, I said, the character, you made the character. I didn't make the character. So if I called him Abayomi, you won't think he is what?
You won't think he's special.
You won't think he's special. You won't think he's clever. As a young, small boy, he used the word cosmopolitan. I mean, he's smart, right? He's well-educated. He's sharp. You see? And this is how we create the character. So don't just call somebody a name, right, without thinking, have I picked the right name? Who lived in, where did he live, sir? Where did the person live? Where does Tayo live?
He lives in the space that you have designed for him.
Yes, but a real place. Does he? Ajegunle, Surulere. Where does he live?
It could be Surulere.
Okay, so there's a boy called Dayo who is in Surulere, and he dreams of
Living in Jupiter. Living in Jupiter.
and he wants to go to Jupiter. So what does this mean? This is a sci-fi novel, right? He's going to swear to go from Suru City to Jupiter. That's a trek, man. That's a trek. But I like it, right? And sir, you see how far from the fact-based book we are going now. This man is really causing us a problem. So it's pure sci-fi, okay? But what is holding him back from his dream? Why can't he go?
Maybe it's poor.
Poor. I like that. If you read a lot of books, right, so many of them are full of people who are just escaping a condition that they were born into. They're just poor. Now, here's a very interesting thing about creative writing. When we talk about the plot, okay? The plot of a writing novel is the story of a person's life. They are the same. Remember, you created the character in your head. That's why when you see the character on film, it's not the one that you had. And in fact, sometimes you can be very disappointed in a movie. I keep asking myself, why are they telling me that Tom Cruise is some action-based blah, blah, blah? He looks too old. When I think of the character, I'm thinking of somebody younger. All this makeup that they're putting on him is not working for me. I mean, maybe it's working for other people. But you created the character. So the story, the whole thing is somebody's life. Now, can Tayo be rich, own his own spaceship company that can take him to Jupiter in 2 days? And it's a very interesting story about how he got into his spaceship and went to Jupiter. No. You can't be a tall, rich, powerful, handsome prince or wonderfully gorgeous, powerful princess and marry the person of your dreams, and we all just go, so that's the story. You're really, really cool, and then you're really, really cool. Or you're very, very poor, and you're still very, very poor. No. So you will find there is a trick that was done on me, right? That I will not play on you. I'll just tell you what it was. I was sitting in a room. This man is a very big literary agent worldwide. And he was talking to me about my story. Not anything I actually have ever finished. Do you know what he asked me? How does it end? Ha! Why'd you do that? I mean, I have the story in my head. I don't know how it ends. So how does it end? That's the story, right? At the time, I didn't understand. But as soon as I couldn't tell him how it ended, he wasn't interested in me. Why would he be interested? What's my story about? Because he knows that every story that is told is actually the story about people, a person. So we must know what happens to them if we're going to write. We don't need to know how they get there. That's the difference. Okay? But if you think about it, there's a character called Harry Potter. Do you know Harry Potter? Harry Potter is going to defeat the most powerful wizard in the world. So where does he start? He starts, we find him living in the cupboard under the stairs. He's going to be the opposite of what he started. Jane Eyre, romantic novel, she meets Mr. Darcy. Does she like him? Of course not. She hates him. She despises him. He doesn't like her either. So of course they can now end up happily ever after. Okay? It doesn't matter. In any one of these stories that you think of that you like, the character's journey is to be almost the opposite of where they started. So when you think, oh, I'm going to write a story, start thinking about where they started, but know that they should be opposite that. When you know that they're going to be the opposite of that, what do you do? What do you do? Remember, the mistake is to like your character. What would you do to your character?
You kill it or bring an obstacle. You kill it or bring an obstacle.
You bring an obstacle. That's all you are doing. Your character is trying to go to Jupiter, right? He starts out being poor, enough obstacles, all the way you insert new obstacles. He's going to go, somebody's going to pay for him, that person turns out to be a fraudster, has no money, da-da-da-da, whatever you do. And if you think about it, right, I always say to people, you need to understand what is honest and what is true. What is honest is what you think. But the things that are true, you'll see them everywhere. So go and think of the book. Go and think of the films, right? Think of where you found the young James T. Kirk, who would later become Admiral Kirk, okay? Why was he living in the middle of nowhere and had to be rescued before he became this admiral? What happened to him along the way? Obstacle, 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 obstacle. And when you look at all of those little bits on the line up to the midpoint, they're just obstacles that he has to overcome. She has to overcome. You can make the obstacle a person, you can make the obstacle a thing, but if your character does not overcome obstacles, what happens to the character?
The character won't be able to achieve their dream.
Can't achieve their dream because they have not
maybe fulfilled that which they proposed, maybe from the beginning of the story.
True, but if you want something, what do you have to do to get it? You have to
Do everything possible.
You must struggle. We don't like characters that don't struggle. That's why nobody likes Prince Andrew. He doesn't struggle. He's just a prince, just an asshole doing nothing. Sorry, pardon my French. We don't like people who don't struggle, right? But we love people who do. Princess Diana struggles against the establishment, right? They're trying to hold her down. We love struggle. So you must make people like your character at a human level. We can even admire bad people provided they struggle. Ogami, can we have the next slide, please? Okay, all of this is for geniuses. Meanwhile, can we go forward? Next. Okay, so we talk about the plot in creative writing, okay? The narrative arc, the chronological structure, the blah, 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 blah. It is true. If you don't know it's true, you can't write a good book. Maybe you can write a short story, but a whole book? No, 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 no. Character is going to start here, okay? This thing that they call exposition is just to frame it. And then this person, you know what their dreams are, and you're going to put all the barriers in, and they're going to overcome them. But of course, if I put a load of barriers in front of you, if I said, you know what, I want you to run and jump over all these hurdles, there comes a point you just go, I'm not jumping any more hurdles. I'm going home. That's the bit, right, at which you say, no, I have to find a way that you cannot go back. You are committed. So your character now goes on what is called a quest. Okay? Your character must want to achieve something, the quest. So can we move forward one more? Next. Oh, by the way, if you stop for 1 second, in case you ever want to know, there are only about 7 different plots that you can create. It's like music. In music, there's A to G. There are no more notes. All the music that you have ever heard, ever, is made with just A to G, minor, major. The same is true. The rise and fall, the hero's journey, the tragedy, the comedy, the man in the hole, all these plots, they all already exist. And all that happens is people put them in different settings. So, can we have the next slide, please? But for us, we need an easier way in, okay? And can we have next, please? All right. Rule number 1. If you're writing sci-fi, you are going to write a lot of words. I don't see 90,000 sci-fi opening books. There are 120, okay? Because in sci-fi, you must build the world. It's the future. It doesn't already exist. Okay? Let's take an example. Who's aware of AI? So can someone think of a world, future world, right, run by AI? Jupiter. Jupiter, please, tell us, what do you think is going to be in this world?
Let's take let's look at the situation whereby, okay, instead of operating stuff or machines with our hands or our body parts, maybe we have machines or tools that react to, how do I put it? That react to bodily movements. If, for example, I'm going out to that door, and then before I get there, the door knows that I am on my way. It just opens by itself. I think that's another thing. And then I want to enter a dark room. As soon as I'm stepping into the room, the light comes on. I think those are the situations I can think of at the moment. Yeah.
Can I add that in an AI world, you see most of virtual realities, a lot of virtual realities. The fact that you can... Okay, so in an AI world, you see a lot of virtual realities, 5D things, and micro presence or these nano presence, where you can stand there and talk to 1,000 persons 1 million years from where you are, and everything seems not real, but made up. You can stay in this house and do a setting of outside world, and you can stay in outside world and do a setting of this. So increase in technology, massive increase in technology.
So here's a question for you. We have a great AI-based future with a lot of virtual reality. Who has already seen the movie? I've seen the movie. Come on, who's seen the movie? An AI world. Have you seen the movie? What's it called?
I can't remember the name, but it was this episode.
It's got a guy called Neo in it, and it's called The Matrix. Yeah, that's right. He lives in virtual reality. In The Matrix, in fact, we all live in virtual reality. That is the concept of the film. The thing about creative writing is to be very creative, okay, but then try to look at what already exists. When I think of an AI world, I look for what I call dystopia, that is not going well for Dio in his attempt to get to Jupiter, right? Because I want him to be successful, so he's got to live in a bad world. I see him, he'll wake up in the morning, and maybe there's a machine, and it's only got output, it's got no input. And he's basically going to take a card from the wall, and it's going to tell him what to do. The AI is controlling him. It tells him what to do. And it will send him off to go and do something, go and clean something, go and do something quite menial. Why does he have to do something quite menial? Because he's going to go to Jupiter. He's going to be a superstar. I can't make him low enough. Right? The lower he is, the worse the job that he's got to do, the harder it is, the more oppressed he is, the greater the hero he becomes at the end. And of course, if I put him down there, boy, can I put trouble in his way, right? It becomes easier. Once you understand that this is what we're doing, it becomes easier. So can we move forward? We put them into that stereotype. Okay? Now here's a question. I think we answered the question when that gentleman asked if this is true for non-fiction. Does a character need to be believable? Does the plot need to be realistic? Absolutely not. How can a plot where you are going to Jupiter be realistic? I have a lot of fun with people. Some people, because they see Orisha or they read Orisha, and they go, what do you know about Egungun worship? What do you know about this festival, that festival? Or, because it's got some references to the church, which church do you go to? In my church, we don't do that. Did that annoy you? That's exactly what I wanted. I don't care. I'm not trying to be real. I made it all up. Somebody today said to me, I'm looking for the book that is referenced inside. Because inside that book, I wrote the rules of Juju. So that in front of various chapters, I'll say, this is a rule of Juju. Do you know where that came from? It came from when I was a child. And a simple rule that everybody used to say, Juju doesn't cross water. Has anyone heard that? I just made up 10 more. Okay? There is no such book. I invented it all. It's all just nonsense. But the guy really likes it. He likes the way it introduces it into the book. Wow. If you want something from Juju, don't bring cola nut. Bring tears of despair, I wrote. I feel very proud of that. That was really quite good. Yeah. It's all bullshit. I made the whole thing up. Okay? Why not? It's a book. It's to entertain you. Did you like it? Did you find it? Even if it annoyed you, I don't care. I don't mind. If your pastor hates it, did you find it? Was it entertaining? That's the secret of a creative novel. I'm not writing a fact-based book. I don't know how to do fact-based books. But creative novels, just to entertain. This is why, sometimes out in the world, it's, I feel that people like me, we are judged quite harshly I was saying earlier that one of the things about writing and actually putting your work in front is that you need to be careful. There is nothing you have ever read in a creative sense where you did not judge the book. So you pass judgment on the author. So you have to be prepared for all these people to pick up your thing and judge you. And sometimes you need to just say, no, I wasn't trying to be real. Oh, I beg, making a no vex. I said Warri, but I haven't even been. I Googled the street in Warri. I'm sorry that you used to live there and it doesn't look like that. But I was not trying to actually represent your street. And so I feel that, no, you don't need to be credible. Don't even try. Don't try to be credible. Try to be entertaining. Okay, please, can we move on? Okay. How do I start? You want to be a writer? Fine. You want to be a creative writer? Fine. You want to adopt my style of creative writing, the same as Stephen King, which is not what you will find in 90% of writing textbooks, then we are discovery writers, and this is how we write. I write all the time. For every 1,000 words that survives, I have probably written 10,000. I dislike everything I have written as soon as I read it again. Because I always think I could write it better. I used to keep copies of what I had written, in case, I spent a long time writing this, let me keep it in case. These days, I just delete it. I never want to see it again. Because I have never read it and thought, what a bad idea it was to delete it. You will not be good on Monday at the thing you did not practice on Friday. How can you expect to be a better writer than me? Well, I'm not a great writer, or as good a writer as me, if you don't write as many words. Or you think I'm useless. No, I wrote 1 million words for those ones. So you have to write. And this is how we do it. Jimmy is found naked in an alleyway behind Sabo Market. How did he get there? What's going on?
He was kidnapped.
Kidnapped. Love, I like it. And don't. This is the madness that comes into my head. This is where I start. I just start to write the story about Jimmy and he was found naked. How did he get there?
Someone put him there.
Someone put him there? Yeah, clearly. Or he could have wandered, right? Maybe I'm going to write about Jimmy. Jimmy has just escaped from an asylum. Right? Drunk. That was said with too much enthusiasm. Oh, you see? Okay, definitely. Sabo Market at the back. Yes. He's drunk, right? So now you write a story about, maybe he's a dilettante. Maybe he's actually the son of a family that's worth billions, but they just can't control him. He's not interested, okay? But here's the question. Jimmy was found naked in an alleyway behind Sabo Market. What's the name of the film? Come on, we did The Matrix. Everybody knows this film. Man found naked in middle of street. He's like this. Steam is coming off his body. Terminator. It's the Terminator. Right? You can start from here, and then you just write the Terminator. Where did he come from? He came from the future. Julie picks herself up off the floor. What's the last thing she remembers? This is so many films, so many books. Woman suddenly realizes that she's actually not who she thinks she is. Something happens. Maybe her door's kicked down, someone starts shooting at her, pow, 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 pow. They want to kill her, because actually she's a spy. What happened was that years before, she was in something, boating accident, bullet grazed her head, she got amnesia, she got a new life, she lives with an ordinary family, she's just an ordinary mom, only she's not. She's an assassin. Correct. It's also very similar to the Bourne identity, right? Where Jason Bourne doesn't know who he is. So it's just a story of amnesia. Deolu thinks he's being followed by a mysterious black limousine. Who's in it? What do they want? Any takers? Are your imaginations working? Another film, another book, another author worth millions because he applied his mind to this kind of madness. This is Stephen King. And it's a story about a car. And the car is possessed. There's nobody in it. If you think about it, right, that's a completely ludicrous story. A car is possessed. It's hundreds of thousands of copies because it's entertaining. It doesn't need to be real. And I put it there as the last one because it's the most fantastical nonsense. But as long as it's entertaining, it's great. Sir. Okay. I'm going to spare you. We'll need to flip through some slides. I was going to make us sit down here and write the words. We were going to write a story, but it's too much. Okay. So this, okay, this way of suddenly describing somebody in a sudden situation is how I start every single story. Next year, I will publish 2 books. This year, I will publish 1 more book. This is how I started every single one of them. Just something. The next book I publish, I will actually leak the thing. It suddenly occurred to me how incredible it would be to find somebody dead and frozen in a classroom, and it forces the reader to make the character in their head. I used to do a little exercise. In fact, the last time I did a creative writing course, we start with Mama Isoro. I love Mama Isoro. She's in all my work. Mama Isoro is 72, and she has just won the lottery. Describe Mama. Now, in my own head, I remember a writing class that I was on, and her name was Maud. And Maud had just won the lottery. And the thing that won, I wrote half a page about Maud is 60 something. She has arthritis. Nonsense. Somebody just wrote, Maud knew the postman's name. That told everybody. Everybody created a woman who would know the name of the postman. She knew the postman, she knew the gardener, she knew the postman's father, she was just that kind of person. And so we all start creating somebody because we all know somebody who is like somebody who is described in a book. And you just have to create that setting. That's called subtext. This is where I start. If you read in your own writing that you have said, and so this is what this one is thinking, this is what that one is thinking, stop right there. You can only be inside one person's head. The rest of them, they must talk. And this is why you shouldn't have too many characters. Too many books have too many characters. We are interested in your protagonist and their struggle. We're not interested in a cast of thousands. I want to know if Dyer is going to get to Jupiter, right? He's the only person I'm following. All the rest, they're just kind of in the way. So, you write your story from a consistent point of view. You know who your protagonist is, that's who you're writing your point of view from. Question?
You mentioned that you shouldn't be in many characters' head, you should focus on one character. So I think if somebody is writing from the omniscient point of view, so how do they get to do that by avoiding not to go through many characters' mind and all of that?
Okay, so what you've asked is about how you do something very, very difficult. which is omniscience, right? I would personally recommend not writing omniscience. I can't really tell you how to do something that I wouldn't do. I have no practice in it. I have no background in it. And I have rarely seen in other people's work omniscience working. I actually think it's much better to find the person through whom you are telling the story and then let them tell other people's stories rather than. So the expression that they use in the industry is authorial. And you will find many editors will reject your work on the ground that you are authorial. You are trying to say something that only you, the writer, could know. And I don't know how, the world has moved on. In my day, we used to have projectors with acetate. I don't know if you remember them. Then they will have a piece of paper, and they'll be trying to make some points. Then they will slide the piece of paper down. So you see point 1, point 2. I always used to think, just show us the thing. We can read faster than you can talk. Show me the thing, right? So being authorial is kind of like you read a book, it's a big mystery, and then you get to the last page and you find out, oh, there was a secret twin that he didn't tell you about. You just go, that's not fair. Be fair to us, right? Not being omniscient forces you to be fair. Yeah? It forces you to understand, look, we have to understand your book, right? Don't be godlike in your book. We must understand it. So, if your main character, if you're only in that mind, then now you're forced to write it from something that we can follow. I actually said something that's not quite true. You can have a single chapter, half a chapter from another person's point of view. But when you are doing that, you mustn't switch. If you're going to switch people, you have to have a very big gap in your writing. It's very clear. I'm changing from this person to this person. Better is a whole chapter told from this other person's view. But don't switch inside a scene. The way I like to think about it is, why don't you try to think of your book as it would be a movie, right? So see the scene, and in that scene, you're not allowed to be two different people. You can only be one of the people. Okay, so consistent point of view. Can we have the next slide, please? How am I doing for time, by the way? Have I bored you all to death? You're all looking tired, though. You're not tired. Okay, good, good. Sir. Keep going. Oh. Sorry, yeah, one more. Why do we do it? Why do we do the things that we do? Okay? Why do we kill characters? Sometimes, do you know what we do? We actually make the good guy the bad guy right at the end. He was standing there, he's pointing a gun at the person, and then he just goes, yeah, but actually I was the baddie all along. You've seen it, right? Why do we do that? The answer is contained in the marketing of a man called Seth Godin, who came up with this concept called the purple cow. So you imagine that you're driving down the road, okay? And you look out of your window and you see a purple cow. What are you going to do? You will definitely tell someone. That's how the message spreads, right? But a purple cow is the same as any other cow. It's just been painted purple. There is nothing different. So what he said is that to be remarkable, you only need to create something that people will make a remark about. There is a very famous book by a woman called Donna Tartt. It's called The Little Friend. And everyone who has read that book and spoken to me has the same complaint I have. In that book, a child dies, and we never find out who killed the child. But everybody says, have you read Donna Tartt? They go, yeah. So who killed the kid? She says, she's lying, oh, don't mind her, she's lying. She says it's in the book. She just wants you to go and read it again. I read it, I can't find who killed the child, right? And all of us say, who killed the child? We don't know. So she's created something that we will all talk about. And I do the same. When I'm writing, I think to myself, I'm going to create something that that you won't like. In Orisha, I did something that everyone who read it in its early stages, and to this day, my sister wants me to reverse. I'm sure you can know what that thing is. See the smile. Everybody, Dele, you can't do that. Watch me. It's a purple cow. Everybody's going to know it. Everybody's going to know I did it. That's why I did it. I did it so you talk about it. Okay, please. Do we have more slides? So this is why we do it, right? So, okay. Oh, please go forward. One more. One more, please, and stop. Okay, so here we go. So this is part of a short story written by some hopeless writer, okay? Because it's hard, I'll read a bit of it, if you don't mind. There I was, watching the Egun masquerades prancing down the road, each followed by an entourage of drummers and dancing children, when I saw a fellow on the other side of the road and knew at once that he was like me. Our eyes locked, he raised his eyebrows, and I gave a surreptitious nod. Please, can we move to the next slide? What's missing? The dancing children. I don't need the dancing children. I'm telling one story, you're trying to follow my character through, and now, because I have seen Egun dance, I start veering off into, oh yes, and they had waves of palm fronds and sticks. It has nothing to do with my story. I was watching an agent dance when I spotted then someone who was like me. You know, Kisha English, a kindred spirit, use the proper expression. Right? Nice, tight. Our eyes met. It's a single sentence. He raised his eyebrows. I gave a surreptitious nod. This is the same as twice what was there before. So this is the problem that people have with their writing, which I believe you don't have if you write as a discovery writer like me. I write all the time. And because I write all the time, and I immediately don't like what I have written, and I'm happy to write it again, I edit it like a crazy person. I can delete an entire chapter. If you cannot delete an entire chapter, I am not the person that you should listen to. If you give me your book, and you have written a chapter that has nothing to do with the progress of the character and the narrative arc, I'll just say, I think you need to delete the whole thing. Let me tell you a true thing, okay? I know a guy, he's a very good writer, and as a child, he had been caught up in the Tamil Tiger conflict in Sri Lanka, right, between different groups. And the Tamil Tigers had a policy of going to the villages and taking one of every child over the age of 15 from a family to come and be a fighter. It was a harrowing book, as you can imagine, for a boy who was taken at the age of 15 to go and be a fighter, just taken from his family one day. And they had to choose between him and his sister. Do you know what the literary agent said? Oh, it's a nice book, it's a good book, good book. But the main character needs to be a girl. The main character needs to be a girl. And as soon as they realized that it would be a better book, more dramatic, if the main character was a girl, they weren't interested in the story as a boy. As soon as they think how they can make your book better, if you're not prepared to make your book better, then they're not interested in you. You're not a true writer. So, if my editor says to me, yeah, but that's not really very good, it's got to go. And if I read it and it's not that good, it's got to go. So you have to stay true to building your character and taking the reader through the journey, through the story. They want to get to the end. And the biggest reward for you is is when they close the back cover. How? Kaboom. You have done it. The biggest danger for you is that they'll turn it upside down, put it on a table, then later they'll just close it, then later they'll put it on a bookshelf, then later they didn't read it. They never got to the end. So why would you not want them to get to the end? You got to write tight. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay? Another example. I was on my way to Yewa to travel down to Lokoja on a boat on the River Niger, looking forward to seeing pink hair set 2 feet apart on an anvil head, white. You see, I like this, set 2 feet apart on an anvil head. I was thinking, how can I describe a hippo? I've got a big head, 2 feet apart with a da 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 da. Please, next slide. Take me boat, strolling along, daydreaming of fishermen in dugout canoes, basking crocodiles and bobbing hippos. End of. I don't need to try to make some big, dramatic, blah, blah, blah description of hippos. The reader's not interested. I'm interested. I find my own writing interesting, right? Because this is what happens. I'm writing. I'm interested in my writing. But I'm here to talk to you about how you write to be read by somebody else. They are not interested in what you want to be interested in. You've made them interested in the character. Something's going to happen to the character, and everything in between is quite boring unless it's action. What I really wanted to say was something that a reader knows but has not thought about. I want to make a statement, right? This is called framing. We talked about exposition. This is exposition, right? This is framing, just to set your world up, okay? What I really wanted to say is that when Nigerian drivers find the road is blocked, they drive on the pavement, even if it's only to move one length, which is why Nigeria is one of the few places where a pedestrian can be stuck in traffic. I wanted somebody to go, oh, I hadn't thought about a pedestrian being stuck in traffic. Carry on reading, okay? Can we move forward? Okay. So we've seen in the way that I edit my writing that actually I remove character description. I remove all description if it has nothing to do with the actual story that I'm trying to tell. You need description because otherwise your book is very tintiny. This happened, and then he got to Jupiter. Very good for him. But what about the world and how it goes, right? So try to use it to say something unusual. Lagos is a place where pedestrians can get stuck in traffic. It's a little unusual. Find a way to say it, right? And then don't start telling fragments of a different story. I was telling you about my character, seeing somebody who was like him. All this business about children dancing for eguns is not relevant to that. This is called burying the lead, okay? And there are two leads. First of all, you cannot have a chapter that is about nothing. So what is your chapter about? You need to make that. But what I would find is that I would start writing and getting all flowery. I like, oh, and he was sitting twixt sunlight and blah, 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 blah. And I'll forget that the lead part, the reason we are here, the reason anybody's reading this is because I need you to know this. What happens if you bury the lead is that people they'll tell you that, but I don't understand. I don't understand why he did this. I don't understand why she said that. What did he mean when he said this? And he said, but I told you. And you did, but you buried it. You put all kind of superfluous nonsense around the thing that they needed to know. So when you're writing, you know the thing your reader needs to know, and you must tell them clearly. They're not you. They don't know what you know. So don't bury the lead. You got to come. That's the thing. So you can kill your own story with just words about, because you're interested in writing words, and you actually just killed your own story. How do you kill your own story? What happens? What is the death of your story? They put the book down. They mustn't put your book down. You must give them a reason to pick it back up. It's very interesting. You see it a lot in TV series. Breaking Bad was a classic. Every episode will end on a cliffhanger. And you've got to tune in next week, right? Tune in next week to see what happens. Is he going to live? Is he going to die? Da-da-da. That's all it's about. Don't stop watching. Tune in next week, right? So you've got to keep it going. Can we have the next slide, please, sir? And again. And again, please. One more. Okay. I want to just very briefly touch on dialogue. I'm not going to talk long. Dialogue is a very complicated thing to do. First of all, please do not write the way that people speak. If you have any sounds that we make, remove them all, please. You can't write the way that people speak. You have to write speech the way that people read. I don't know how best to describe it, but you cannot write the way that we actually talk. Because we talk nonsense. Abi, don't we? If you put all of that in there, Uncle. Meaning what? Why did I say those things? Huh? You say if you want to argue. Why? It's nonsense. We don't read that way. We're reading a story. Please, take reality out of it. Suspend your belief in reality. You're writing a story. It doesn't need to be real. They don't have to speak like people really speak. If you listen to the way people really speak and you took it down, it will be nonsense. All ums and and ahs and but you know, Sha, anyway, my children, they're always saying like. So like, well, so daddy, can we like go to like somewhere? Like. I said like means, similar to. Doesn't mean like, yeah, no, daddy, oh, daddy, like, you're so like, saying so like, I shouldn't say like, but like I always say. If I wrote down what she actually said, you think she's a moron. She never went to school at all. Like. So this is a sentence. I'll just read this dialogue. This is lovely. I must go now. I'll miss my flight, he said, smiling as he picked up his suitcase. Blah, blah, blah. She got up out of the armchair, padded across the room towards him, and gave him a peck on the cheek. Please, let's move to the next one. It's already making me want to vomit. So first of all, beware people smiling. If you're a writer, search for the word smiling. If you start having people smiling, they're always smiling. Everybody's smiling. There are too many smilings. Don't do that kind of facial direction. Otherwise you find, yeah, they're smiling. He's smiling. How many smilings? 1,654 smilings in your book. How happy can people be? Right? Remove the whole thing, right? What I really wanted to say is that they have a bad relationship, okay? And this ends with her basically saying, and him understanding, that he's got some fish, and when he leaves, she knows and he knows that when he comes back, they'll be dead, because she's not going to feed them. She's leaving. That's all I want you to know. All the rest of the dialogue, yeah, boom. This is very interesting. So when you're trying to do dialogue, it's really clever if you don't have to say who is talking. Try to avoid he said, she said, person said. It means that you're getting something wrong, right? You're having to do too much direction, okay? So, she is the subject, placed his hand on the shoulder. So, will you miss me? She said. I don't need to tell you that she's the one talking, okay? Try to see here, I've removed, now this dialogue, right? Now because of this, when he responds, I have to introduce him. Otherwise I need to say he said, because she's still talking. So it was a standard query, like when she'd ask if he loved her, his response was automatic. Of course I will, he said. I don't need to say he said. He's now the subject and I've placed him there. So you have to think about the writing and how you do it in dialogue. But if you have little rules, I don't want to say he said, she said, unless, you don't force me. You won't go far wrong. Okay, can we have the next slide, please? I beg, before these people sleep now. Okay, right. Okay, so writing is an art form. I truly believe that. You know, I go to art exhibitions and I think to myself, okay, yeah, but writing is an art form too. It's an art. I take it very, very seriously. You know, if I write something, I like it to be really the best thing that I can make, okay? So, however, some people tell you great writing can't be learned. Such people should be hit repeatedly on the nose until they promise not to talk such nonsense. It is complete nonsense. Anybody can learn to write beautifully. You just have to want to do it. It's not easy. Being really good at something is never easy. If you want to set the world record for juggling a football, you are going to work very hard at juggling footballs. It's the same. If you want to write, you're going to have to work very hard at writing, okay? Little things that people don't know because they haven't studied writing, okay, is we use devices in our writing deliberately. Alliteration, done to death by Dickens. Everything is Mrs. Popper of Pickwick Papers, right? The p, l, l, l. So when I want to write about how people know the difference in sound, I talk about how we know the difference between an anxious antelope pricking its ears and a lion listening for its lunch lumbering through the long grass. That was not an accident, all those L's. Oh boy, it took me 15 minutes to put them in. And they looked at that sentence going, hyena. No. I can't get enough H's. Okay? It's not easy. But what you have to understand is that it's in your brain to understand and recognize and remember and like certain patterns. The only thing that most people know from Shakespeare is the saying, my horse, my kingdom for a horse. That is called diacope. It's a technique. I try really hard to get it, but it's very, very hard. Where you say something, and then you say it again. My horse, my kingdom for a horse. Infamy, they've all got an infamy. It's in the Beatles' songs. Yeah, please, please me. What they do is they use the word please, and they use both its meanings. To please me is to give me pleasure. But will you please, please me? Oh, so clever. And you thought they just wrote something and became multi-billionaires by accident. No. You can't forget please, please me because of what it is, right? And so you need to understand and know and try to use these tricks. If you want to know, there's a man called Mark Forsyth, and he wrote a book called The Elements of Eloquence. If you ask me, I will tell you his name and the book, okay? And it's all about these tricks. We remember things like, to everything there is a season, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to this, a time. It's called antithesis. It's a trick. If he'd said it a different way, you wouldn't remember it. So in the old days, all those Roman senators and great orators, people like Shakespeare, Dickens, they were trained in this. That's why we remember their stuff. It's not an accident. Shakespeare took old plays and rewrote them using the rules of oratory. That's why we remember his plays. It's how he said it, not what he said. And I'll give you one classic. Paintings worth hundreds of millions. The guy painted on top, paintings worth hundreds of millions. The guy painted on top of another painting. So if you're not afraid of writing, you can't be afraid of just writing anything. Write with subtext. Write the way people speak. Read, not how people speak. And here's a very interesting thing. I like to think that if you picked up my book, anything I've written, and you removed my name from the cover, that you would still know I wrote it. The way I write is consistent. It has taken me years. The way you write should be consistent. If you use colons, use colons. If you use dashes, use dashes. Know where you put commas. Know where you put full stops. Know if you have short sentences or not short sentences. And then be true to yourself. There is no correct way to do this. But we must know, when we pick your second book up, that you wrote the first one. It's your style. It's your thing. It's your signature. Okay? I am very proud of one achievement that people really don't think about, which is that I wrote a book in 3 languages. And people only talk to me. Pick up a Cormac McCarthy book. There is no doubt this book was written by Cormac McCarthy. You can read about crazy people who write books and short stories where they decide that they're not going to ever use a word that has an E in it. It's an art. And you need to remember, it's a competitive art. So if you want to be a great writer, these are the kind of mad people you need to contend with, okay? Imagine the research on different words to be able to write even a short story without using any word that has the letter E. It's not easy, but it's so rewarding. The reward, when, you know, when somebody says to you, so I read your book, that's really, really good. It's just like, yeah. Yeah, now me do that one. Tone of voice. Please do not use AI. I have only utter disdain for the prose that is produced by AI. It is terrible. Maybe one day AI will know how to write, but AI cannot have your tone of voice. AI writes like AI. So when you give it to me, this wonderful book that you've just written, it reads like every other book that ChatGPT has ever written. Is this money? Ha, see you. Not even 10K. Okay, well. So you can't use AI, right? Because it's going to, you can use AI and say, oh, give me a plot about da-da-da-da, or AI, give me something. But you must write your own, or you can't have your tone of voice. And I can tell anything that is written by AI. I've never been fooled. It always reads the same, and it has always hallucinated some utter nonsense. Yeah, the place, you know, ask it to write a story about Nigeria. It will instantly introduce corruption, like we have no honest person in the entire country, incompetence, pollution, our ambulance will smell of petrol. For no good reason, people will just do all kinds of nonsense. Oh, and there must be some element of juju and superstitious belief. It doesn't ask it. Test it later. It's utterly incompetent. And then finally, what I said. Every language has rules. Okay? So we use rules in speaking all the time. If I say, it's the great green dragon, right? Or there's a rule to that. I can't say it's the green great dragon. Who told you that that would be wrong? Right? The great green dragon or the green great dragon. Who told you that the green great dragon is wrong? Nobody. You just know the rules. That's because of how your brain works. Your brain learns language by patterns. And if you hear the wrong pattern, your brain just goes, nah. But there are also patterns that lock in your mind. Alliteration, diacope, all those things that I told you about, right? The techniques that people like Shakespeare and co, they used. They're not hidden. Mr. Forsyth's book will list all of them. As you're reading them, you're just going, ha, see. See how they have boboed me all this time. So this is why I know this hymn, and I don't know the other ones. It's because the hymn was written using this technique. Right? So it becomes easy to memorize. Okay, that's it. My name has been Dele Shikwade. You have your toolkit. I look forward to reading your books. Any quick questions?
Thank you very much, sir. So, thank you for your sagacious teaching, and I can say that even the most abstruse concept of creative writing have been demystified. Thank you. So, you have answered my question partly. So, my question would be, what makes the creative human writer better than a language-based AI model with a view to how technology is evolving? You've answered it by mentioning the tone of voice, but then you said that maybe one day AI would be able to write a book. So what would be your advice to the creative writer of that time?
So, the thing about AI, so in my other life, I'm a programmer. And as a programmer, I actually program AI. So I know how AI works. The way it works is that there is a massive repository of information, okay? And an AI can reach into it and it can bring it back. What this means, it can never give you something original. Okay? When somebody says, oh, look, Gemini has made a children's story because I told it the name of my daughter, it stole the story. It understands there are only so many stories that are told. It stole the story and then it retold it. The reason I say maybe in the future is that today's computers are built on the principle of noughts and ones. The way it works is that people say, oh, it's an 8-bit computer. That means it's got 8 noughts or ones. This allows it to reach a certain amount of information, right? Because of the highest number you can get if you go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Today, we're at 1,024 bits. If you put all of those ones together in binary, that's more than the number of grains of sand in the universe. So an AI now can address more information than that. But that doesn't make it smart. Our brains don't work in that way. Until somebody creates an AI that actually works the way that we think, then all it can do is amass way more information than you. It can't actually do anything better. In fact, it can't even do anything as good as. All it's bringing you is what it found, and what it found was what someone else made. So it can address all this information. So when I say in the future, I'm talking about a day when you have quantum computing, a day when AI doesn't work this way. There's nothing different in the machine that an AI runs on significantly than the machine that was running in 1972. So it still works that way, and that's its problem.
Thank you so much, sir. First, I must appreciate you for everything that you've said so far. Thank you, sir. So I'll just go straight to the point because of our time. Personally, I believe imagination is the core of creativity. And I believe that's the basis of everything that we've been discussing today. So I would like to know, sir, are there tips that you can share with us on how to strengthen our imaginative, power? If there are tips, I would like to know, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so one of the things that drives imagination and future thinking is to be on top, in my view, of the latest developments in the world, right? So I actually think that an interest in what's happening in AI, an interest in what's happening in quantum computing, an interest in, you don't have to understand those things in detail, but you can imagine a world, and you can imagine worlds on that basis. And I think that that's essentially the kind of the goal for the creative writer, is you can even take an imagination that is founded in thinking about a future and just apply it to imagining how the past was. Because the past is not how we actually necessarily think it was, right? We're constantly being told, oh, that's how you thought it was, but actually this is the reality. This is really how things were in the 15th century. It's not as it was perceived in your textbooks. So I think that if you want to develop your imagination, you should look at what is at the cutting edge of what are people thinking now about the world. Because that's all very imaginative. We don't know, you know? And so just stay current on, and it will keep your imagination ticking over. Don't let anybody ever stunt your imagination. I always have a very simple test when I want to know about somebody and whether or not I need to allow them to stunt my imagination. I say to them, what's the speed of light in miles per hour? The answer is that it's 186,000 miles an hour. And then I say, well, you might not know that. I said, so if I look up at the stars, in our galaxy, how many stars are there? And if they don't come back with a figure in excess of 40 billion, then I really ask myself, well, maybe your imagination is not that big then, is it? So, well, how many galaxies do you think are in our universe? The answer is we don't really know, but in the observable universe, we think there could be up to 2 trillion galaxies. So 2 trillion galaxies, 400 billion stars, and we're sitting here on this tiny little place. If you want imagination, just look up. Just look up. It's that this world is so amazing, so amazing. Don't let anybody kind of shrink you down. This world is so amazing. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. You're all too kind. Oh, sir. Daya is going to Jupiter. Last one.
All right, so, thank you so much once again. You were talking about killing. So you were talking about killing a character at that time, and that reminded me of something that I've been thinking about. So how much can we deviate from a normal plot structure of a novel? Now, there is a rising plot, and then we are moving to a climax, then resolution. But sometimes this doesn't happen like that. There's a character, the character gets into a problem, and then while he's trying to solve the problem, he dies. Can't I just write like that and then, because it's actually the reality. Why must a character always have a problem solved at the end of the day? Because most times it doesn't happen like that. You fall into a problem and you die in the process, and that's all.
Honestly, I really like that, right? But my question to you is, how does the book continue from the point at which you killed the character?
Can you not just stop there? And
you just stop?
Because sometimes that's the reality. Someone enters the problem and then the person dies. And
no, listen, there's a very famous film with a very famous ending because they actually ran out of money. The film is called The Italian Job. And if you watch the original point, right, that's the purple cow resolution. That's the thing. What's your name? So what? What happened? Did you read his book? The man just stopped. He just killed him. He just died. What happened? So that itself becomes the end, right? The crux of the book is how you're going to end it.
Okay, yes. So, well, I guess I should begin.
Sorry, we have to make this one the last question because I think I've run out of time.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
I will answer. I can answer any questions in private. So I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. I guess I should thank you the way the other people have also thanked you before asking their question.
No problem.
All right. Okay, so thank you so much for this sagacious, whatever it is. Okay, so yeah, at the point you mentioned not having so many characters. Well, I don't know if I should compare novels to movies, because I know some movies are actually adapted also from books. So sometimes there's a way I view literature or creative or works, movies or some stories. And when they don't have so many characters, I feel like, it's not making it spicy enough. So, so when you say not having many characters, do you mean not having many characters irrelevant to the plot, or not making sure you don't have many characters in general to the story?
So, I mean, not having many characters in general, okay? So typically, you have a protagonist. Please try not to not have a protagonist. You have one protagonist, right? Because this is the person we're going to follow through your story, all right? You can have an antagonist. This is the person who's holding the protagonist back from achieving their dream or whatever it is. And then you can have a number of minor characters, right? But I would say that if you have minor characters, because you must have them, you must write 2 pages about each minor character to describe them, their lives, who they are, and all that kind of stuff. That will very soon control how many minor characters you create. Because you can't just introduce characters, okay? And you shouldn't introduce characters who aren't going to appear. I mean, if I introduce a gatesman, yeah, who says, excuse madam, you will find the gatesman through the book. Otherwise, why is the gateman in the book? So I would say I'm sticking with my guns. Don't have many characters. Don't have characters who just come, have no actual purpose to the story. Remember, you are writing to be read. This is not about you. This is about us. We want to read about these things. We're not interested in you, and we're not sympathetic to you. And you know what? We're going to judge you. That's the thing you should fear. We are going to judge you. So don't give us any relevance. We are not kind people.
Characters that are irrelevant.
Most minor characters, when people think about them, are irrelevant. Okay? You can have actual characters, right, who don't have much to say. But they're not minor characters. Don't be introducing characters who have no relevance to the narrative arc. Remember, you need to write like 90, 100,000 words, right, for a normal novel. You don't have time to be tolerating because this one seems good. Okay, thank you all very much. I think my time is up. And no, thank all of you. Really, I can't believe anybody comes to listen to the nonsense I have to say. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Wow. I have become an ambulance. Wow. Yeah. Please, let's clap. That was spellbinding. I could see that everybody got completely carried away. And I love the fact that you guys, you guys paid rapt attention. I got to understand the role of imagination. And I know that if you cannot conceive it, you cannot achieve it. Okay. Yeah. So, like I said from the outset, there is every need for us to memorialize this historic outing today. If you agree with me, can I see your hand up? If you want us to have a group picture to, archive this historic experience. If you agree with me, can I see your hand up? Somebody listening to me, you want us to have group pictures? Yes, group pictures with Mr. Delesi Kwande, yes. I know immediately after now we're going to be having a panel discussion. We're going to be having a panel discussion centered around his beautiful work, which is a testament to all that he's been saying here today. And for your information, that work, Orisha, yeah, right? Orisha is downstairs for anybody who wants to get a copy. It's down there with, Kuramo Publishers? Yeah, Kuramo Publishers stand here, just within the Kongi Harvest Gallery. But in the meantime, we're going to be having a panel session so we can talk and discuss that book thoroughly. Thorough examination of the thrust. Talking about the principal character and other complementary characters and everything. You have had the flesh. Now is the time for you to crack the bones. So ladies and gentlemen, before then, let's have a group picture with Mr. Sikwande. So I'll call on all the students here today. If you were a student here today, but before the students